Hey friends, it's 4 p.m. in Singapore on Friday, March 16th, maybe 17th. And I just got back from New York. I did a layover in Frankfurt, which was better than I expected. And I was hoping to make videos more regularly every day while I was in New York, but I didn't feel like it. I felt I'm not sure. I guess I was traveling with my wife, and I wanted to make sure we had a good time together. And I did try to take out my phone and record some stuff from time to time, but I didn't have much to say. I guess I was talking to people all the time, and I have a bunch of notes in my phone on my iOS notes, and I will be assembling my notes more cohesively and writing some Substack posts. So even today, I am a bit jet lagged, I think, and I was smoking cigarettes while I was traveling, and I am stopping again now that I'm back in Singapore. And so I'm gonna have a bit of withdrawal, a bit kind of tired, kind of sleepy, coughing a bit. Smoking is not good for you, but I enjoyed smoking while I was traveling, and it's especially nice to smoke in Frankfurt, where I feel like the people, just the way people smoke in Frankfurt is a bit sexier, I feel, compared to in New York. It's quite neutral, and I used to smoke in San Francisco as well, and in SF it felt kind of like people thought it was uncool. Like you get the sense people are like, ew, it's gross or ew, but I mean, not disgusting necessarily, but just it's kind of frowned upon. And I just wanted to think about that a little bit, about how different behaviors are interpreted differently in different contexts. Anyway, I don't want to say too much about all those things because I do want to get back up and write an essay about my experience in New York. So I'm not going to make a video saying everything about my thoughts about New York. I did enjoy New York though, and I really want to go back. I'm thinking about like weather and climate and shit. Like, you know, like so New York was pretty cold. It's the coldest I've ever experienced life. You know, which to people who've experienced real serious cold, like negative Celsius cold, that's I have not experienced that. I did get to see snow for the first time in my life. That was fun. But it wasn't like a snowstorm. It was just some amount of snow. Just pretty cool and trippy for me in my tropical island life. And I'm looking at my home country now with like, wow, everything's so green, everything's so lush, and I think it's extra lush because it's been raining recently. But yeah, it's just the realities of climate is just so interesting. Like, and I mean like temperate versus, like to be Singaporean is to just be kind of sweaty all the time, a little bit at least. And it's to not want to go out at noon because it's too hot. And I remember while in New York in winter time, noon is like the nicest time because that's when the sun is at its brightest, hottest, and like as it gets later in the evening, it gets uncomfortable. It gets uncomfortably cold. Whereas in Singapore, as you get to the evening, it gets less warm, so it becomes comfortably cool. Which is an interesting development. Even just now, I was walking over here, it's like the wind is so pleasant, whereas in New York winter, the wind is like, it freezes your face a little bit and your fingers. And I almost now kind of miss having my fingers be cold and needing to stuff them into my pockets. And I'm once again alone in my house with my wife and cats. And whereas just like 4 days ago, I was in a group apartment with multiple rooms with different friends in every room, and it was just this social environment. I'm just thinking about how behavior patterns work and change, and how being in my friend's place for 3 weeks, I cultivated habits, I guess, of the way that I would go to bed and wake up and shower, and like even getting familiar with the faucet and like the tap and everything, and the keys and the subway. I now feel confident about riding the New York subway, which feels cool to have familiarity with. I mean, you can just use your phone, But even so, like knowing, I'm on the L train and then I'm going to change at Union Square to go to Uptown, Downtown, Queens, Brooklyn. Like just to know all those things it feels good. I remember when I was in San Francisco as well. I remember tweeting something like, I like my feet getting a sense of the city. You know, like just there's something like a foot sense. And yeah, I slightly regret not making more videos in New York, but I do think I tried and I didn't feel like it. I do have a lot of photos, I have a lot of tweets. In my previous trip to SF, I regretted not being more deliberate about meeting people. This time, I'm quite happy with the number of people that I met. What did I do in New York? I watched Hamilton on Broadway. That was amazing. I mean, the sound wasn't as good as I had hoped. It was kind of like a bit muddy, but the experience was wonderful. I had a pastrami sandwich at Cat's Deli. That was amazing. I had halal guys, street food. That's great. I told my wife I was becoming gyro pilled. What else? I went to Top of the Rock. That was a beautiful view. But really, I mean, the most fun was just taking the train, meeting friends for coffee at a bunch of different places. I had a nice Taiwanese food dinner with some friends. I had a couple of cocktails. I don't really like cocktails, I think. You know, I usually find it kind of too sweet, or maybe I just haven't tried enough to know what my favorites are. But I'm a very straightforward drinker, I guess. And I'm not even a fan of drinking all that much, but I'm a fan of people being more lively and loose and open. And yeah, anyway, what else? Bookstores. I went to the Strand, this gorgeous bookstore. I went to Passageway Books. I went to Book Club, which is a place that sells books. And I went to Revolution Books in Harlem. Had dinner with a couple of friends. Had like a couple of steaks. Had steak and eggs for breakfast at this place called Tina's Restaurant, like multiple days in a row. I loved it. Yeah, coffee was really good. You know, bodegas, fun to navigate. I had a hot chocolate at Cafe Reggio in the Comedy Cellar. That was great. I went to this jazz bar called Smalls. That was also great. Did a podcast with a friend. We did a couple of photo shoots with a couple of new friends, and I did a couple of consults in person as well. And I flew to New York to give a speech. I almost forgot to say that. I flew to New York to give a speech at a conference, and that went really well. And I gave a second version of that speech informally at like a dinner party, Sunday dinner thing. That also went really well. Yeah. So I had a great time hanging out with my housemates, Andrew and Priya, and so they have like this whole multi-apartment lease, short-term rent, group living thing going on. And I'll post a link to a tweet that you guys should, if any of you are in New York and you're thinking of living in Brooklyn and you want to live around cool friends, it's worth checking out. What else? Yeah, I think that's all for this video. Let me know if you have any questions, I guess. And yeah, I do look forward to going back to New York. I also want to go now that even just spending half a day in Frankfurt, I do now want to spend more time in Germany, Berlin, Lisbon, London. I wanted to do all of this before the pandemic, you know, and then when the pandemic hit, that just became more inconvenient. But I still want to do that shit. And yeah, to do that, I'm going to have to do more consults, and which I'm going to do. So yeah, I will update my Substack, update my marketing blog, do a bunch of note wrangling, and then I'll make another video at some point. Thanks for hanging out. Hope you guys are well. Done.